Good morning, good morning, good morning. It is Tuesday, the 29th of April, 2025. You are watching Morning Brew on Politics Social. I'm Graham Hughes. A little bit weary from being up all night watching the Canadian election results coming in, but they're all in now. Well, not all of them, but most of them are in. We know the direction of traffic. That's the main thing. In the chat, we've got Martin Harrow, we've got Sarah Davis. Hello, Sarah. We've got Gallifreyan Ren. We have got Diz in there as well, and Colin Baker and Veg Pie. Scott, we've got Plum Duff, we've got Francis, we have got SG in there as well. Hello, one and all. If you'd like to join our friends in the chat here, our socialites, all you need to do is press the subscribe button and wait for a minute, and you'll be able to opine on things. But don't be a troll, or we will mute you and boot you. Right, so let's get on with it. So there was a shock result last night. The goodies won. that doesn't happen very often. I'm not used to it. Labour won last year, but it turned out not to be the goodies. So what has happened? History has unfolded, well, pretty much, because after 10 years of the Liberal Party, sort of the leftish wing party, centre-left party of Canadian politics being in power, people thought, well, we're sick of these people. Let's have another 4 years of them. Effectively. And why did this happen? Because of Donald Trump. Trump tried to break Canada. Instead, he broke Pierre Poilievre's dreams. So the Conservatives looked like they were absolutely mad for taking this election. 12 months ago, 6 months ago even, they were 20 points ahead in the polls. 20 points ahead. They would have romped home with a majority of over 190, maybe even over 200 seats in the Canadian Parliament. They need 172 seats to secure an overall majority. And the Conservatives came up short. Their dreams backfired right into their stupid little faces. There was a wonderful snippet on the website. I think was it the BBC website or something, and it said, this was at 3:27 a.m. our time. It said Conservative voters disappointed, confused. Oh, such a, and it had a picture of someone like this, and underneath it said, the mood here has now plummeted as CBC projects a Liberal government. But don't get too relaxed, because they haven't actually won a majority. But I'll come to that. So, Mark Carney's Liberal Party gets the most seats in the 2025 election. This is a major upset. Like I said, months ago, Liberals looked dead under Justin Trudeau. Poilievre's Conservatives gained votes. They got 41% of the votes, but they still lost thanks to progressive tactical voting. Here's something that's quite interesting, though, because I was talking to Josh this morning. Hey, Josh, if you're watching, about tactical voting. And it wasn't the fact that there wasn't any tactical voting, because actually there was. It was just that the Tories, the Conservatives over there, they don't call them the Tories, I should call them the Conservatives, the Conservative Party, they benefited from tactical voting as well. So there's a third party called the NDP, and that third party lost loads of votes, almost equally to the Liberals as it did to the Conservatives. So people who had been voting for them in the past thought, no, I need to know that my vote is going to count and my candidate is going to win, because for the people who are voting Conservatives, they may have to use pronouns. Whereas the people on the left might have to, I don't know, be deported to a concentration camp in El Salvador, have their children taken from them, have their school meals taken from them, have their pension funds taken from them, have pretty much everything taken from them, be stripped of their citizenship, be made the 51st state of America. Who knows? Because with the right in, anything's possible, and it's always horrible. When I say anything, I mean anything horrible is possible. Not anything good, not anything worthy, not anything awesome. And the Canadians looked down south at what's happening in Trump's America and listened to Trump's horrible, vile rhetoric about taking over Canada, making it the 51st state, and thought, no, not having that. Not having that. But yeah, so the Liberals fell just short of a majority at the last check. Just before I came on, they were at 167 seats. They need 172 for an overall victory. However, this means that they can team with the NDP, the third party, and the Green. There's a Green MP as well, and they'll be able to get over the line. However, Jagmeet Singh, who is the leader of the NDP, or still is technically now, I think. He's resigned. He's just resigned. Sorry, he's resigned as the leader of the NDP party after losing his own seat. So that's a bit shit. And it did look for a while like Pierre Poilievre might actually lose his seat, which would have been brilliant. If you were watching last night, Ollie from Canada was saying, well, even if he loses his seat, the way the Canadian system's set up, someone else will just give his seat to them, which is what happened with Mark Carney. But it would have been nice and humiliating. The final humiliation for the Trump people on the right who wanted the Trumpy mates to win so they could have tax cuts for the super rich, so that they could have someone like Elon Musk, the richest man in the world, come into government departments with a chainsaw and take social security payments away from veterans, away from little kids who, on the breadline, take their food from their faces. Yeah, take it out them. Take it out their mouths. That's what they want to do. The billionaires want to come and they want to take away your grandparents and your children's food. Because it's not enough for him to be the richest man in the world. He has to be also the world's biggest twat. Oops, just demonetized. Ooh, maybe just set a goal. Let's do a goal. Should we do a goal? I like doing goals, right? Super chats, 10 super chats, all the colours, 45 minutes, and I'll stay awake for an extra 15 minutes. Yay! Woo! Okay, so I've just typed that in. Right, so that's going to be in the goal there. SG. Woo! Pierre Poilievre did lose his seat. Check. Oh, that's fantastic news. Thank you for the super chat there, SG. Ooh. Well, this is. Has this just happened? Because I didn't notice this morning. Let's have a look. Oh wow, that's fantastic. If that's there's no headline saying it. Full speech. Carney delivers seats attended. Winning as government. Carney faces troops. Oh, his seat's in peril. The mood at the Conservative headquarters, just blocks away from where the Liberals gathered, was understandably more subdued. Change did not get us over the finish line tonight, Poilievre told the crowds just after 1 a.m. Eastern Time. He congratulated Carney, said the Conservatives will do the blah, blah, blah. Poilievre, who's led the Conservatives in 2022 and has very much shaped the party, added that they will learn lessons for an even bigger result. He said he intends to stay on as leader. His own seat in Ottawa's Carleton riding, they don't call them constituencies over there, they call them ridings. I didn't know that. Like East Riding of Yorkshire. I didn't know that until last night. That was a nice thing to find out. That's quite cool. There was a point where it said at the top of the screen, as the results were coming through on CBC, it said, riding results, man, full stop, short for Manitoba, but it said man riding mounting. No, mountain. Man riding mountain. Riding results, man riding mountain. That's what it said. Because the name of the riding is Riding Mountain. It's Riding Mountain Riding. And it was in man. And there was a man who won the man they chased. They won the results. Anyway, so yes, his own seat in Ottawa's Carleton riding still in play, and the Conservative leader is, as of 3 a.m, trailing behind his Liberal challenger in the riding he's held since 2004. Woohoo! Check election result for Carleton. I didn't know it had been announced, but thank you very much to SG for the extra super chat there as well. And Paul Ewan says, well done, Trump, for winning the Canadian election. Thank you very much, Paul. That is tremendously exciting and groovy and cool. And yes, it is pretty awesome. Jason J, how you doing, Jason J? At least the Khan has taken the defeat in good grace, unlike a certain orange bell end. Yes, Jason J. Very good point. Thanks for the super chat, my friend. It's very kind of you. Let's have a look. I'm looking at the latest Agony in the Ecstasy. I'll just do a little. Where am I looking for the? I'm putting Pierre in, which means stone. Some volunteers in see the prospect of losing his own seat. So it's saying prospect. That was at that was on the BBC, reported at 8:01. I'm just refreshing the BBC page. What do I want to do here? I'm in Vancouver and happy for the election result. That's good, Isaac. Thank you for watching. All the way over in Vancouver. It must be very late over there. He's the former head of the Bank of England, so not exactly a socialist. Not sure exactly why I was celebrating this other than my enemy's enemy is my friend. Yes. Matt, we kept the Nazis out. We kept the Nazis at bay. And although the people who got in, not exactly perfect by any stretch of the imagination, at least they're not the Nazis. Oh my God. Plum Duff, thank you very much for the £100 hyper chat. Thank you. Woo! Plum Duff, thank you so much to all you great people, wonderful, to all you great people and wonderful Graham hearts. Never surrender to the fash. So proud to be part of this community. Love to you all. Go Canada! Yes, Canada! Elbows up! Hey, I wish I could send you a link to the result, says SG. Just SG, thank you very much for the super chat. Just tell me what website to go to, because I'm looking at the BBC and the CBC, and it's not been reported yet. But if I can get a confirmation on that, that'll be an awesome bit to put into this show. And just Plum Duff, thank you so much. That is so kind. That is so generous of you. That is absolutely incredible. Thank you so much, Plum Duff. I can't. That's just phenomenal. Thank you. Diz and Martin Harrow and Alistair and Leipshin and SG and Witchigoth are also thanking you. Well, Leipshin saying, "Are you fucking nuts? Are you knocking foots?" Sorry. Well, no, I think that Plum Duff knows exactly what Plum Duff is doing, and all I can say is, "Lay on, Plum Duff." Thank you so much. Plum Duff's euphoric that another country hasn't fallen to the fash. Yes, which is what would have happened, because Peter Poilievre is part of this. Poilievre is part of this international movement, conservative movement that just celebrates suppressing people's rights and voting rights and being tyrannical towards minorities and blaming immigrants for everything, or blaming trans women for everything. It's painful. It's absolutely painful that these bastards are doing so well. And I don't know if for those of you who saw the live stream last night, Ollie was talking about the amount of just the insane amount of coverage that the Liberals were getting on the TV. They obviously paid for a lot of advertising because they've got some big international backers, and we need to get this dirty money out of Canadian politics, American politics, British politics. We need everything to be transparent. And I wish there was some mechanism where we got more power the more transparent we were. I wish that the UN would say, right, guys, listen, instead of having a system in which a country the size of India with 1.4 billion with a B people has the same number of votes in the UN assembly as Nauru, which has a population of around 8,000? 8,000 people get the same number of votes as 1.4 million. We're going to weight your number of votes on a couple of different factors, one of which is population, but that's not the only thing. One of the biggest things is transparency, freedom of the journalism, freedom of religion, democracy, like a democracy index, Transparency International, get them on board. And the more transparent you are, the more democratic you are, the more weighted your vote is in the UN. And yes, it would be a mathematical formula that would, weight things towards Europe, which some could say, well, that's a bit unfair. They already get enough of a say. But look at it from the other end of the telescope for just 1 second. Think about this. If you are a developing nation, the quickest, easiest, and most cost-effective way of your country getting more of a say in the United Nations, and as a group, the 54 countries of Africa getting more of a say, doubling, tripling, quadrupling their say in the UN would be by becoming more democratic, allowing more transparency, allowing more freedom of the press, allowing more freedom to delve into who's funding who, and stopping corruption in politics at its source. That would allow these countries, international observers will make their notes, whatever, it'll all be fair as it can be, but it will give countries something to aim for. At the moment, it's a bit like dodging tax, isn't it? You actually get a benefit, you get a reward for being evil, for saying, no, I know I'm rich, but I don't want to pay as much tax as everyone else has to pay because I'm rich, you see. And it's like, well, shouldn't you pay more because you're rich? No, I've earned that. I have to keep all that money that I earned magically somehow, as everyone else doesn't work as hard as me. I deserve that. And we have a reward system where if you're rich enough to afford a canny accountant, you can get away with not paying any tax, like, I don't know, Starbucks. But there you go. Right, so I'll just get back into the chat for the moment. Damien, is that the results? Lib Bruce Fanjoy, 40,501, 50.2%. Pierre Poilievre, 37,000. Oh God, he's not going to catch up on that. Wow, 37,425, and that's 46.4% of the vote. Thanks, Damien, for that. That is pretty cool. So obviously that's not all counted yet, but that looks like they're way ahead. That looks like way ahead. Anne Phillips, not much to compare to Plum Duff, but here's a token. Honestly, Anne, thank you so much. Like, every little helps. Genuinely, every little helps. So please don't ever feel like, well, I can't afford 100 quid. That's fair enough. Not a lot of us can. But thank you very much to Anne. Like I say, any little helps. Morning, Grim Fandangos in the house. Also, morning, everyone. Do we know yet whether Carney has actually saved his own seat? Yeah, Carney won last night. Carney's seat was declared last night, so Carney's definitely got his own seat. But Pierre Poilievre, it looks like he might have lost his seat, which is all kinds of wonderful. I'm quite excited about that. What else have we got here? Conservative leader is still trying to catch Conservatives' lead in his Ottawa seat. This is from 14 minutes past 9 on the BBC website. As we've been reporting, it's still unclear if Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre will be returning to Parliament. Despite his party increasing overall vote shares, the Conservatives have lost the election to Mark Carney's Liberal Party. And national broadcaster CBC said Poilievre, is it Poilievre? Poilievre is down by more than 3,000 votes in his riding, also known as an electoral district. Or I guess constituency. The broadcaster says it's still not going to call the results yet, as there are 10 polling stations not returning the votes, the results in his district of Carlton, Ontario. So so basically, there's 10 polling stations that still haven't declared. Maybe they'll all declare for him. Who knows? But it hasn't quite been declared yet. Hopefully, that'll be declared while we're on air, because then we can really get this party started. Alistair, thank you very much for the £10 super chat. After Plum Duff generously, just to build it up. Thank you. After Plum Duff's generosity, just to build it up. Thank you so much, Alistair. That's really kind of you. And one angry pagan says, America first indeed. Trump screwing his allies, laughing face. Yes, indeed, one angry pagan. This is really, really, really good news. And look, at the moment, things aren't great. And I think we have to take our little wins where we get them. And yet, it would be nice if a more progressive party was taking over. But I'm very glad that there is a sort of centre-left party that's beaten the fash, and it's led by someone who's not a all-round scumbag. He doesn't seem to be in it for himself. He was the governor of Bank of England during Brexit, and he managed to steer us through that economic catastrophe. He was the head of the Bank of Canada during the credit crunch, and he managed to steer Canada through that. And from what I heard last night, he comes from the school of hard knocks. Like, literally, he went to just a normal state school, which had a bit of a reputation, has apparently been knocked down since. And he's one of us, as far as I'm concerned. I know he might be really rich now because he was the governor of Bank of England. I'm sure that he would have been paid quite well in that role, printing money for a living. But at the same time, he went to a state school. He came from a similar sort of background as many of us watching this. And that makes a big difference to me. It really is. And I know that you might be watching this and go, oh, it shouldn't matter, Graham. Talent is talent. And we shouldn't discriminate against people who went to private school. I'm like, yeah, I wouldn't if they didn't discriminate against us. Because it's not just the fact that they, they basically run a lot of things in the public eye. I'm quite thankful that nobody in the current Labour cabinet went to private school, except for Keir Starmer, who only went to private school because his school became private while he was there, along with Fatboy Slim. It's also the fact that they take all the top jobs, because there's only a finite number of top jobs that are fun jobs that we want to do. Singers, dancers, acrobats, actors, people who get to do artists and sculptors and people like that. It is so dominated by the private school mafia. If you don't believe me, go to privateschoolmafia.com. So to have someone who I feel is a bit more from our kind of background really matters a lot. Alistair says, I trust Carney as he didn't lie to the Scottish people in the 2014 Indie vote. He didn't. And Stephanie White. But to be fair, Alistair, the SNP didn't. If the SNP had done what Boris Johnson and Nigel Farage did during the Brexit referendum and just lied to people, didn't give them a paper to say this is what the future's going to look like, just completely bullshitted them and said, jam tomorrow, don't worry about it. Sunlit upland, la 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 la. The SNP might have won, and then be left with a country to try and get onto its feet. But yes, indeed. He's in favour of improving wealth equality, changing market morality to people over profit, developing infrastructure and improving environmental policies. He seems like a safe, progressive hands. Yeah, and also the Brexiteers hated him. Do you remember the Brexiteers? Because he said that Brexit is a really bad idea and it's going to go really badly. Do you remember when all the Brexiteers were like, Governor of the Bank of England, he's not even British, he's Canadian. Rah, rah, rah. Do you remember? Anyone who upsets Brexiters that much, it's a friend of mine, my enemy's enemy. Yeah. Shout out to Bob Carroll Cheese and Spit the Dog. So yes, this is quite a seismic shift in Canada's politics. The Liberals have been in for 10 years already. Everyone kind of expected them to be out at this election, which is just the natural ebb and flow of politics. But we're not living in normal times. We're really not. And I think this sends a beautiful and much needed message to politicians around the world for the next few years. If you hitch your wagon to Donald Trump's crazy train, you're going off the cliff with him, okay? Because that crazy train only has it's a one-way ticket off a fucking electoral cliff. And you're not coming back from that. I mean, the fact that the leader of the Conservative Party in Canada looks like he might lose his seat, fingers crossed, is quite a beautiful thing. Latest, Lib elected 153. They're leading in 15, which is fantastic. That's a total of 168. Don't forget, they need 172 for an outright majority. So it will mean them working with the what's it called? The NDP. I didn't want to get the initials mixed up. The NDP, the New Democratic Party, is it? So that's the latest from SG. And the Conservatives elected 133, and they're leading in 11, which gives them a total of 144. So the Libs are streaking ahead, and sounds good to me. I mean, this is one of the things that we said in the last election, wasn't it? Like I think Femi Olawale, he said his preferred result would be a hung election, which I thought was a bit unrealistic and a bit difficult to manage, to stage manage. and very risky as well to go for as a result. But he wanted to see the Labour win with the Lib Dems requiring Lib Dem votes to get stuff through, because that would have resulted in a bit more of a compassionate party. And I think Femi was right about that. But I just thought that the chances of it happening could end up falling, helping the Tories out to somehow make some kind of minority government with the DUP and refuck and I don't know who else. So yeah, it didn't happen in Britain, but this is what's happened in Canada. So the NDP are to the left of the Liberals. So the Liberals want to do stuff like, I don't know, drill, baby, drill. I don't think that the NDP votes that they're going to rely on, there's only about 10 NDP MPs who've been elected, who've won their seats, I think 9 or 10, but that's enough to get them over the magical 172 number to be able to get things through their parliament. Grimfang, a lot of it was Trump. The Liberals did a good move by moving to someone more pragmatic while still being progressive and decently charismatic. I look forward to seeing what he does. Yeah, Grim, I think one of the main things for a lot of Canadians is that Mark Carney's got gravitas, something that the likes of Trump and J.D. Vance and Pete Hegseth and that shrieking Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert and all these fucking dickhead, crazed Tory berserkers, these Nazi berserkers, none of them have got any gravitas. They don't come across as the adult in the room. They always come across as the petulant child in the room. And so I think that was a big appeal to Canadian voters. Just like in the UK, Starmer, in comparison with the screaming monkey clown car on fire that had been the Conservative Party, the likes of Liz Truss and Boris Johnson, he seemed like a serious grown-up that was going to be good to steer us through the choppy waters of our post-Brexit economy, which is not doing so great at the moment because we're not part of the EU. We could do it being part of the EU. Grimfang, I expected Labour to be better on social issues. Now, unless they flip relatively soon, I want a Lib-Lab coalition. That might happen. That might happen. Phil is very, very certain that Labour are going to win the next election, but the question's going to be, by how much? It's certainly not going to be over 200 seats. Not after this. Because we talk about voters and the way voting, people vote as being important, and I get that. But I think what's more important is activists. It's people who are actually on the ground game, knocking on doors, making phone calls, getting people out to vote, especially in a country where it's not mandatory to vote, like the UK. And what this blithe cruelty that Labour have been doing, especially towards trans women and trans men, but trans people in general, what it does is it disheartens the people who would otherwise be an activist for you. And one of the things that drove me up the fucking wall about the last guy who was in charge of Labour before Starmer was that there was a movement of 1 million people who weren't just getting off their arses. They weren't just they weren't just voting. They weren't getting off their arse to vote. They were getting off their arse to travel down to London to protest against the Tories' flagship policy of Brexit. And Labour weren't interested in us. Labour just didn't care. Labour didn't I don't want to see a single EU flag at this protest that they were organising against the Tories. We don't see a single flag that is, in direct protest to the fact that what the Tories are trying to do, which is to pull us out of the European Union. And Alistair, thank you so much for the super chat, mate. That's very kind of you. Just because. Thank you. I think we've hit the super chat target. I will endeavour to stay awake for another 15 minutes if I can. I smoke green too and double amaze. I'm still awake, says one angry pagan. You mean woolly cardigan man, says Anne Phillips. Struggling this morning, had to work last night, says David Peacock. So, I mate, if you need to get a kip, get a kip. You know, you can watch this on catch up. Martin says, I fell asleep before it started, woke up wearing my headphones and the TV still on. Well, that's what I thought last night. We had like still 100 people watching at 5:30 in the morning on our stream with Mikey and Ollie. Ollie from Canada, not Ollie from Yorkshire, who's going to be on Geoscope with me tonight. And I was convinced that like half the people have fallen asleep with us running in the background on their laptop or on their phone or whatever. So let's have a look at the new update from The Guardian. China says it's improving, open to improving ties with China. Okay, that's not that exciting. Hopefully we picked the right person to stand up for Trump. This is the latest from the BBC. We've put together this video of voters around Canada offering their thoughts to the BBC on last night's striking comeback by the Liberals. And we've had a couple of super chats in. Thank you very much. 15 minutes. Yee, says Lycian. See you gone. Thank you, Lycian. That's very kind of you. And Lycian, thank you. And SG, thank you very much for the £10 super chat. Considering where the polls were when Trudeau was PM, this is an absolute drubbing for the cons, especially as the Libs are the incumbents since COVID times. The Trump reverse Midas touch in action. Yeah, everything he touches turns to shit. Now, the next step in this is America. You're going to see in special elections, what they call by-elections over there, they call them special elections. You're going to see more and more people legging it from the Republican Party. And Mikey was talking about this yesterday. This is something that we need to see, because the more that, even more than MPs in this country value their seat, value their party, you know, being part of their party, having their job above all else, Americans take it to another level. A lot of American parliamentarians in the House of Representatives and in the Senate, they spend half their time on the phone begging for people to vote for them, begging for more money so they can get more people to vote for them. And they're obsessed with it. They spend so much time doing that. It's a real shit part of American politics, and one of the reasons why I don't think that America is as democratic as it likes to think it is. But the thing they fear most in the world is not flying spiders that stick to your face, it's losing their seat. That's it. Losing their seat. They lose their seat in the House of Representatives or the Senate. That's it. Game over. Their life, the raison d'etre is over. It's over, baby. It ain't coming back. That's it. You're on the scrap heap for life or whatever. I don't know what they think in America. But their American dream would have died if they get kicked out of office. And what they'll be doing now is they'll be looking at this result in Canada. They'll be looking at the results of certain special elections and local elections in America and going, because there were the seats that have gone already in state legislature over to the Democrats in places that were rosy red seats before the Trump came along, before the Trump appeared on the horizon like a big lump of disgusting orange snot and pus and sinew. But even in Florida, there was a couple of seats that were up for grabs in the state legislature in Florida last month. And although the Republicans still won them, they won it by a much slender margin. The Republicans had romped home last time, and this time their vote share was down by 20%. That shows how far ahead they were in those particular districts. But think about this for a moment. Any Republican with less than 15%, who's less than 15% ahead of their nearest rival, which will be the Democrat, because they have a two-horse race in America, and the third parties don't really get in very much. You're going to be worried. You're going to be worried about your job. And if you're worried about your job, who's the person that you're going to have words with to say, stop doing this stuff that's losing me votes? Donald Trump. Maybe the fear of losing their jobs will overcome their fear of Donald Trump. But that would kind of require the Republican Party in America to grow a backbone. And since they're all jellyfish, I don't think they can. So, Don't overestimate the power of voter suppression and gerrymandering in the US, even in the present environment. And don't forget how our local election results are likely to be spun on Friday. Oh, yeah, Colin, absolutely. I think that we're going to see on Thursday, it's going to be very much a referendum on the Labour Party. My hope against hope is that people who would otherwise vote Labour vote for the Lib Dems or for the Greens, vote for a progressive party rather than vote for refuck. I mean, I know that Labour are hemorrhaging some votes to refuck, but it won't make much of a difference if most of those refuck council seats are taken from Tories. It won't make too much difference to the right and the right. Well, that's a far right, isn't it? So it's not going to be great, but the more seats that the progressive parties have, and yes, I'm going to include Labour in that, despite their current shenanigans, tomfoolery, shiteness, clusterfuckedness. I think that's really, really important. We live in hope, Matt, that anything stops him. Nice one, Witchy. I can't run far. Always been a cyclist, so my legs cramp up from using muscles in ways they're not used to. Okay. Ow, that sounds painful. I need to get out on my bike, actually. I might go out on my bike today because it's actually a nice day and it's not freezing fucking cold. It felt like they were taking the piss on the front cover of the Star newspaper all week. It was like, it's going to be dead hot. It's going to be like 27 degrees. And I'm sitting up here in Durham in like a hoodie with a blanket, with my coat on and a blanket around me, with me wearing my beanie inside the house. And I'm like, when's the heat coming? When is the heat coming? Bring the heat. But we did decide to live in the coldest place in the universe. So, whatever. Ooh, we got David Peacock has joined on Lone Star. Welcome, David. Welcome to the channel. David has joined the channel. He's now absolutely awesome. And he gets a lovely rose after his name. The roses, the longer you are a member of the channel, the different colours through the rainbow that your rose will go until it gets to the 10th level. Yes, there's now 10 colours of the rainbow where it goes purple. I don't think we've got any purple roses just yet. I think Nico Schmidt is pretty close, but if you get to the purple rose level, you're like politics social royalty. Royalty, I tell you. If you'd like to join our royals in the not that kind of royal, but good ones in the chat, just press the join button, and it's only a couple of quid to join Lone Star, and then there's like Superstar, there's like Megastar, Hyperstar, something like that. I don't know. So there's different levels that you can pay. I mean, pay what you can afford and pay what you think this channel is worth to you to keep going all night long. I did a 2-hour show yesterday morning. Then I did stateside with Mikey, which went for an hour and a half. And then I did 5.5 hours last night from midnight till 5:30. So, lots of talking. I've still got my voice, though. That's good. Still in fine spirits. Alistair there showing off the different colours of the politics social roses. Seems a bit elitist, says Pete. Yeah, it's very elitist. No, anyone. I mean, if you join on the Lone Star, which is £2 a month, if you join at that level, but you just stay a member for like 3 years, you'll get the purples. You'll get the purple heart. Oh, so there's 8 levels. There's 8 levels, not 10. I don't know why I said there was 10. Yeah, so there's the 7 colours of the rainbow, and then there's purple at the end. So that's how that was set up. Tried to get in Scotland for cold and damp. Tried for Scotland and damp. David Peacock, I struggle with the Greens since so many Corbynista morons infested them. Yeah, but they're everywhere, mate. They're everywhere on the left, and it's just they always remind me of Monty Python's Life of Brian. You know, the popular People's Front of Judea, the People's Front of Judea, the Virgin's People's Front. Okay, right. But if anyone's caught up on Andor, right, there is the most beautiful example of people fighting, groups on the same side fighting amongst themselves when they should be fighting the fucking Romans, or in this case, the fucking Empire. Well worth watching. Please watch Andor. I'm really trying to get to do a show with Abby Heffer, who you should really be following if you're on TikTok. She's brilliant. She does very informative TikTok videos about authoritarianism, and she's a big Star Wars fan. So we're hoping to do an episode of The Intersection where we talk about Andor and authoritarianism. See what I did there? Andor and authoritarianism. That should be really, really interesting, with parallels with rebel causes around the world, the left fighting back against the tyranny of the fash, and the mistakes that we make and the mistakes that they make in the show. And honestly, Andor, fucking love it. I'm sorry, I know there's people that go, no, bloody Star Wars, it's for kids. Honestly, there's no magic swords in it. There's no tomfoolery with the wizards doing the magic space wizard stuff. There's no force. There's no moving things with the mind. There's no chosen one. It's just a gang of people doing what they can to struggle against a tyrannical galactic government that is bearing down on them at every stage. I love Andor. Just rewatching season 1. Great acting. I'm thinking of watching Star Wars 3 at the cinema. Ooh, that'd be nice. Do you know, did I ever brag that I went to see the Star Wars Episode 3 premiere in Leicester Square with George Lucas? And I got to say to him at the end, I said, that much better than the last two, mate. Well, I wasn't like sitting with them or anything. They were all up on the balcony. So Anthony Daniels was there, Kenny Baker, Christopher Lee, Hayden Christensen. Ewan McGregor wasn't there at the Leicester Square premiere for some reason. He was off doing something else. He was probably getting his willy out in the pillow book or something. It was good. And one of the greatest things happened to me that night. We were leaving the cinema, and who should drive past in a chauffeur-driven car but Christopher Lee? And as he drove past, I waved to him, and he waved to me. Christopher Lee, Saruman, he waved to me. Anyway, so that happened. I won an MTV competition. It was a short Star Wars skit competition. You had to make like a 30-second skit on Star Wars. And so I did one called Jedi Night Out, in which I imagined Luke Skywalker as a Jedi going on the pull with Yoda in tow on the clubs of Liverpool. Jedi Night Out. See what I did there? Yeah, how could I not win? Anyway, he ends up sleeping with Leia. Anyway, does anyone think Starmer is a type of Avon from Blake 7? Ooh! Oh, that's a deep cut. That is a deep cut. Maybe. I don't know. Whatever you do, George, don't sell this to Disney, says Pete. Well, they made Andor, and they made the first season of The Mandalorian. I know the second season wasn't that great. I know the third season was absolutely fucking awful, but they made the first season, which was great. Mandalorian was fantastic. You're lucky bugger, Graham. Luck will only get you so far. And if I can give some advice to anyone, when you see a competition, go for it. As long as you don't have to pay to enter, just go for it. Just because someone's got to win. And there's a natural assumption that there'll be so many other people who went for this competition that you won't get the job. So I once saw a talk with Stuart Marconi and what's her name? She's a female columnist, and she writes a column called How to Be a Woman. She wrote a book called How to Be a Woman. Oh God, this is going to drive me up the wall. What's her name? She's got a tuft of white hair in her hair. You know the one. She wrote How to Be a Woman. Oh my God. Caitlin Moran. Caitlin. Anyway, so it's Stuart Marconi and Caitlin Moran, who are both music writers in the past, and also writing on other stuff, and now they're columnists, obviously. And they both won competitions. That's how they got into the gig. That's how they got into the game. They applied for competitions, and what Caitlin Moran said, it's amazing because the competition, I think it was like for Vogue or something. It was like shoot for the stars. And she was just a kid at the time. She was a teenager, and she thought that loads of other people would apply and they'll all be just as good. And here's the secret: hardly anyone applies for these things. Hardly anyone applies for these things. So if MTV run a competition and say, "Hey, make a Star Wars short, and you can go to the premiere of Star Wars Episode 3," just make one. It doesn't even have to be that good. It's the fact that you've made it and you've entered it, because most people will go, "Oh yeah, that'd be cool," but they won't get around to actually making the short film. They won't do that. Anyway, I remember it well, Simon, siphoning bathwater off to keep a patch of garden alive and got it reported to the police as people thought I was abusing the hosepipe ban. What? How did we talk about the hosepipe ban? Talk about tangents. Look at that. Look at that hosepipe ban via Star Wars Episode 3, via Andor, via The Last of Us, via, I don't know, the White Lotus via Black Mirror. Or Black Lotus and White Mirror, who knows? So yes, let's get back to what we were talking about. Trump. Oh, I hate talking about Trump. The Unwanted Kingmaker. That's his title, The Unwanted Kingmaker. How Trump accidentally saved Canada. He imposed tariffs on Canadian cars, and that led to huge public outcry and huge public anger. He said that Canada should be their 51st state again and again and again. He actually said that again in a tweet yesterday, or Truth, or whatever he calls it, on his stupid platform. And the result was a massive rally round the flag effect for the Liberals, for the people in charge, for the people saying no. Never underestimate the rally round the flag effect. Trump turned the Canadian election into a referendum on sovereignty. And because Peter Poilievre had been, chumming up to Trump a little bit too much, it did not go down too well for him. It really didn't. The tactical voting massively helped the Liberal Party. The NDP have been crushed. They only got about 6% of the votes, which is down from about 18. So they got absolutely smashed in this because of tactical voting, unfortunately. But as things worked out, they're going to be, by the looks of things, the Liberals aren't going to win an outright majority. It's going to be a minority government with the NDP. So even though they've lost their vote share, their actual power in the government has actually grown by a lot. But when your house is on fire, you don't argue about the wallpaper. You just get the fuck out of the house, don't you? Bloc Québécois is stuck at 7%. It's not growing outside of Quebec, but then that's not surprising because they don't run candidates outside of Quebec in the same way that the SNP do not run candidates outside Scotland. Jagmeet Singh personally losing his seat was a bit of a blow. It really was. And he resigned immediately fell on his sword. So good on him. But I quite liked him. He seemed like a nice guy. He's a Sikh guy. Carney's calm in a crisis narrative and his economic experience, his hardline against Trump, his promises to diversify trade, move their trade closer to Europe, and the end of the US Canada hegemony that had been in place for many, many years. He announced it. He said it's over. It's over. They were the words he used. And the Trump, the quote from Carney's speech is Trump is trying to break us so that America can own us. That will never ever happen. That stirs people up. People don't want to be run by another country, like Russia. They don't want to be run by another country. They want to do their own thing. And although their country might not be perfect, it might have people in the political spectrum who you don't really want. It's no one else's place to interfere in the internal politics of another sovereign country. And even if you wish they did, I wish the EU had made more of a fight during the EU referendum, but they didn't think it was their place. They thought it was a British thing and the British should just get on with it. Unfortunately, I would have liked them to have staked their case a lot more strongly. I would like their plaques on the side of the stadiums and the arenas and the bridges and the infrastructure and the artworks that they commissioned, that they paid for, to be bigger, absolutely massive. Just the EU, everywhere you went. Thanks to the EU that this got built. Instead of a little tiny plaque on the side of a back alley, just 2 inches off the ground that no one's going to see. Alistair says, 76 drought shocked me as all the lochs in the Highlands were very low and we had a big fire in old Highlands Forest. It was devastating to see. I remember being in primary school, Blackmore Park Primary School. So I must have been 6, 7, something like that. So it would have been 1985, 1986. I remember the campaign on TV saying, please save water. There was a guy and he's like, this used to be one of the highest reservoirs in the UK, and it was like all dried up. And he had some kids with him as well, for some reason, because that was the thing in the 80s. Captain Birdseye used to travel around the world with a crew of kids. to find the best fish fingers in the world. And yeah, I remember that ad really distinctly from the 80s. I remember, as well as Saturday Superstar going live. So I remember Live Aid. I remember the films of the kids, the adverts of the kids in Ethiopia, and feeling really bad for those kids who were starving in Ethiopia. And I think that sort of milk of human kindness that came out, that people felt towards people in Ethiopia, and before then in Biafra in Nigeria in the 1960s, for the first time you really had a sort of documentary, a panorama documentary where people actually went and spent time with people in these horrific conditions and actually got those photographs and those videos home to people. The Vietnam War was really the first war. I know there was photographers during World War One, but it wasn't quite World War Two and the Korean conflict. But those photographs from from Vietnam really brought home the war to the people who weren't there. And I really do feel like in the last sort of 20, 30 years, people have become more and more desensitized to this stuff because you see it all the time, because there's suffering everywhere. And it's very difficult, I think, for most humans, and I'm not even going to exclude myself on this, to generate enough empathy required for that many people. I can empathize for individuals a lot easier than I can empathize towards groups. And I know that sounds a really shitty thing to say, but it's been seen time and time again when charities are trying to get people to give money to their charity. It's a lot easier to get, not easier, that's a bad way of putting it, but it's a lot more, people are more generous when they see a full page ad in the newspaper and there's one child and it says, this is Maria, or this is Jamil, or this is, put their name, and they have not eaten for 7 days, and the water that they're drinking is filthy. Just a few quid a day could save this child's life. You're more likely to get that because it's easier to empathize with an individual, that you can look into their eyes and go, okay. If you put a picture of a village full of children or a group of children who are all starving, it doesn't seem to have the same emotional impact. And it should. It absolutely should. But it just doesn't. And it's part of our human psychology. We feel a lot of empathy. We feel more empathy towards individuals than we do to collective groups. And I do worry when time and time again I'm hearing this line from the likes of Elon Musk and others that the biggest problem that the world has right now is there's too much empathy. And I'm like, I think the biggest problem, mate, is there isn't enough. There isn't enough. We should be caring more about the children in Gaza. We should be caring more about the children in Ukraine. But the longer these conflicts go on, the less it takes up of our mental space, the less it takes up of our column inches in our newspapers and on our websites, and people get forgotten. The Syrian war raged on for over a decade, and people barely gave it a second thought. The First and Second Congolese War, which I covered in an episode of Hughes the World a few weeks ago, absolutely harrowing. 6 million people dead. 6 million people dead. That didn't happen 80 years ago. It happened 25 years ago. It happened in all our lifetimes. I don't think there's any 18-year-olds watching this. If there are, it should be in school. But it's a terrifying situation. I think people, as then people are desensitized to it all. And we need to be thinking of ways, clever ways, like what the marketing people do, like what the madmen do, to reach people on that emotional level. Because just to talk about human psychology for a moment, and look, I'm an armchair psychologist. I'm not qualified in any way, shape, or form. I took a psychology module in first year of university, but it was just a very, very basic thing. But when we talk about getting people on side, it's generally and politics is included in this, it's generally a vote of the heart. It is generally a vote based on emotion. And it can be a positive emotion for people wanting to help, or it can be a negative emotion. People scared of the future because of climate change, or people who are scared of immigrants coming over from other countries. It can be scared of trans women using the women's bathrooms politely and genteelly and how dare they, whatever. But the right is so much more effective than this because they know that fear is a stronger emotion than empathy. And one of the things that I say that the right do very, very well is that they make people feel good about themselves. And it's a lesson that the left really needs to learn. And we do it ourselves. I do it, I'm not innocent of doing this. But on the left, we tend to overanalyze and we tend to beat ourselves up and we tend to be nasty to our own because they don't quite 100% sync up with our values. They might only sync up with 99% of our values, but it's not perfect. And of course it's not perfect. Humans aren't perfect, but I always feel like we are our own worst enemy because on the right, they make people feel good about being bad people. And what we on the left need to do much, much better, is to make people feel good about being good people. Because at the moment, it does feel, for a lot of us, I don't know if I can include you watching this in this, but I feel like people feel it is a system set up to make people feel good about doing bad thing, like tax avoidance. Tax avoidance is perfectly legal, and it gives you a nice little bonus of perhaps millions of pounds more money than you would otherwise have. So for these rich motherfuckers, it's the equivalent of winning the lottery every year because you don't have to spend that money on tax. You have been given an award. You have been given by the state. Here you go, mate. Everyone else has to pay their fair share of tax, except for you. Here's your money. And they're rewarded for being evil. They're rewarded for doing a bad thing. And then when you look at what Trump did with the 6th of January rioters, these thugs that came into the American Capitol building, smeared shit on the walls, they tasered police officers, they tortured police officers, they stamped on police officers' heads. Their actions led to the deaths of 9 people. All right? And they've all been forgiven. They've all been pardoned, every single last one of them. And the Democrats are powerless to do anything about it, and the Republicans are like, yeah, well, I'm not going to say anything because it's fair enough, isn't it? So people getting rewarded for doing bad things, people being rewarded for thinking bad things. J.K. Rowling and her little turf posse gang of gobshites sitting there, popping the champagne, smoking cigars. They've been rewarded for doing a horrible thing. Their endorphins are off the fucking charts now because they're happy. They are happy people because they've done something sadistic to someone else. And what I think that we need to learn, the lesson we need to learn on the left, is that we need to make it more attractive for people to do the right thing and make it so it's not just makes them feel good for giving to charity or paying the right amount of tax or whatever, or supporting the rights of trans people, supporting the rights of immigrants and refugees, all that kind of stuff. It should be rewarded. It really should be rewarded in a way that we don't really do enough, I don't feel, in this country. And even if it's just a gong, even if it's just something where we go, oh, you get this. I'd love to see the award system in the country changed. I think it's ridiculous that these career politicians, for being mates with Boris Johnson, are given these fucking, high honours. They made a knight of the realm, or they're given an OBE. I really do want that to be reformed, and I want the E in OBE and MBE and KBE to be changed to excellence, the Order of British Excellence. Get rid of the word empire out of there. You do not want to be praised by the British Empire after all that's done. So I'll give an example of what I feel the left should be doing. So I've got friends who are vegan and vegetarian, right? And they're all sound, won't say have a word said against them. And none of them do this thing that some vegans do, which is they try and convert you to veganism by showing you pictures of tortured animals. And I cannot bear to see that kind of thing. I have an absolute aversion to seeing a sentient being in suffering. I have a visceral reaction to it. And that reaction doesn't necessarily make me not want to eat meat. It makes me want to block that person off Facebook so I never have to look at a picture like that again. The revulsion doesn't work. It doesn't make me a vegan. It doesn't make me a vegetarian. But what has made me eat less meat, which is on the road to vegetarianism, the road to veganism, a much better, state of being, is yummy vegan food, yummy vegetarian food that costs less money than buying meat. So at least once a week, Kat and I have a meat-free day when we'll make a veggie curry or something. And that's fine, That's our start. And if everyone in the country had a meat-free day, if every meat eater in the country had a meat-free day, you would see the environmental impact, the impact on farming, the impact on everything else just change, like massively. And so it's not about making X percent of the country fully vegetarian or fully vegan, but if you can make 100% of the country slightly vegetarian or vegan, it means less meat being eaten overall and more vegetables being eaten, which is healthier. Generally speaking, I know chips aren't particularly healthy from the chippy. But yeah, so make people feel good. Make them yummy food. Show them a great recipe that they can make. If you've got a friend, if you're vegetarian and you've got a mate who, go round to their house and cook something for them and take it round. That's vegetarian for them. Or invite them round to your house and cook them some vegetarian food. Make sure it's delicious, okay, please? I can't emphasize this enough. Do not bring people round to your house to try and get them to convert how they eat and give them terrible food, okay? Just make them some delicious food and have them round. Because another thing that happens quite a lot is that vegetarians and vegans aren't invited to dinner parties because the hosts, and I may have been guilty of this in the past myself, doesn't want to have to make two versions of everything, right? If they're making a roast dinner, they don't want to make a veggie roast as well because it's more shit to make, which is a bit unfair because if you think about a roast dinner, apart from the meat, everything else is vegetarian, isn't it? Apart from the gravy, which comes from the meat. But, you wouldn't be having that if you're vegetarian. I guess you could make a veggie gravy using veggie stock cubes. It's not that hard. But yes, the fact that people don't invite people around to the house or, having a barbecue. Oh, shit, they're vegetarian. You can't have a barbecue. Well, yeah, you can have vegetables on skewers, things like that. But if you are a vegetarian and you go around to someone's house, say, hey, I'll bring the food. That makes the host's job a lot easier. And you can force feed them vegetables. And if you make it nice and tasty enough, that'd be great. Make them some falafel. I love falafel. Jane says, 50% of my family are like you, flexitarians. I make gorgeous vegan cakes for my grandchildren. One is dairy allergic. They all love them. Yeah, that's how you get them on board. Because, I can't stress this enough, love is a stronger emotion than hate. It really, really is. And one of the reasons why Trump does so well is he makes people feel good about hating. He makes people feel good about hating pronouns and hating trans people and hating, the litany of people that they hate, the woke people. But also, there's love in there as well. Trump's followers fucking love him. Like, swivel-eyed devotion. Like, these people are beyond anything. They're like the meme of the over-attached girlfriend meme. They're very much like that. I'm just going to jump into the chat. If I was ever offered an MBE, OBE, etc., says Joanna, I would refuse it. Sorry, too much of an anti-monarchist to accept it. Also, it means I could never be an MP. Well, that's fair enough. It's sad though, Joanna, because it means that you could be a really capable MP and you're not going to be. I mean, don't forget, Sinn Féin become MPs. They just don't swear allegiance to the king, and therefore they don't take the seats in Parliament, but they work in their constituencies in Northern Ireland. Pedro Pascal called JKR a heinous loser. Yeah. I've been watching the new series of The Last of Us with him in. I'm not going to mention anything about it, but I love a bit of Pedro Pascal. He's going to be in the new Fantastic Four movie called Fantastic Four First Steps, which is a terrible name for a film. Is it going to be good? I don't know, but it's got Pedro Pascal in it. So I might actually go and see this one at the cinema. Kind of avoided the last 3 Fantastic Four films. 4 actually. I didn't really know about the first one that they made in the 90s just to keep the copyright on the name. Just to keep the rights on the names of the IP. They wanted to keep the IP. So they made a Fantastic Four movie in the 90s that was bloody awful. I think it was Roger Corman. Did Roger Corman make... Is this a fever dream? I don't know. I think there's been 4 Fantastic Four movies. And all 4 of them haven't been that great. Let's face it. But hopefully this will be good. And Pedro Pascal, Narcos, brilliant. Game of Thrones, brilliant. Mandalorian, brilliant. Love the guy. He is a stalwart defender of the trans community. And it's great to have him and Doctor Who standing up for our trans brothers and sisters. I'm not a vegetarian, but I'm off my chops, says Pete's Music. Another origin story, says Sean. Well, we know because I've seen the trailer and they're like, we all know how this happened. They went into space and came back different. So I don't think it's an origin story, but it's got the Silver Surfer, who's a woman this time, which is brilliant because that upsets people who don't know anything about the comics, because the Silver Surfer has been a woman before in the comics, which have always been woke, very progressive. And it's like, why are they making all comic book movies woke? And I'm like, the X-Men's literally based on the civil rights movement of the 1960s. Like, Dr. Xavier is quite clearly Martin Luther King, and Magneto, a Holocaust survivor, is quite clearly Malcolm X. And it's about kids who are different and are not accepted by society because they're different. Nick and Diff, if I do cook meats at home, which is rare. I like what you done. Did you do that on purpose? Then I buy the best British cut I can. Buy less, but buy best. Yeah, it's a good plan. It's a really, really good plan. We're quite lucky here in Durham because we have some farm shops that are local, and if we're doing a special treat, we'll head off to Nitsley Farm and get some farm good farm food, and it is fantastic. Doctor Who was very good on Saturday, probably on my own with that one. Lol. I haven't watched Doctor Who yet. I haven't watched. I was so behind with everything. We still haven't finished White Lotus, and Andor's playing, Last of Us, Black Mirror has come back, and I watched that. Doctor Who and I was up all night last night doing this. One Angry Thing says Thor is my favourite Marvel comic, to the shock of no one. What a lovely chat this morning. Love and peace to you all from Plumdorf. Oh, thank you, Plumdorf. And also thank you so much for the super chat. That's really, really kind of you. Take care. Take care, my friend. That is so good. So yes, just to mention about tactical voting and how it worked last night. A lot of votes went from the NDP over to the Liberal Party. Slightly more went to the Liberal Party, but a lot did go to the Conservative Party. It just goes to show that tactical voting can go both ways. And we can see that on Thursday when we have our local elections, and I'll share the link with you again here. It is HTTP. Not that many T's, Graham. It's, what is it? Stop Reform UK.vote. So if you click on that link that I've just put into the chat, that will allow you to go and have a look at your constituency. Type in your postcode. They're not done all the postcodes because obviously there's thousands of seats up for grabs, and it's only a very small unpaid team doing this of volunteers. But yeah, have a look to who to vote for, and I really recommend tactical voting because we saw it work last year against the Tories, and we saw it work this time again against Peter Poilievre, who is a gobshite. He won a higher percentage of the vote than Harper did Stephen Harper in 2011 when Harper won the majority. But this is the perils and pitfalls of first past the post voting. You can have a constituency in which you get 99% of the votes, and you get exactly the same number of seats as a constituency in which you got 43% of the votes, but the other 57% was split between different parties. See, that's first past the post for you, So a lot of votes are wasted, effectively. And it meant that using tactical voting, progressives united behind Carney, the NDP, the Green, and even Bloc Quebecois, their votes collapsed. Where it was kind of needed to go to the Liberal Party to keep them, just about there. I mean, this is quite a surgical strike by the Canadians. I think they've been very, very canny in this. The Liberals have gained in key ridings like in Toronto, St. Paul's, and that shows effective coordination between the Liberal parties. And tactical voting works against fascists and authoritarians, even when there's voter suppression going on, even when we need voter ID and they're trying to stop people from voting. Getting organised, getting people out, and getting people to vote, it really makes a difference. I don't think that this local election on the mayoral elections on Thursday are going to be, too consequential because they are only local elections. But I do hope in a way that when Labour lose a lot of seats, which they look like they're going to do, it gives them pause of thought of the route they are going down. Because the enthusiasm of an activist is worth 100 votes. Why would you throw that away? Especially on an election where 100 votes can easily swing it from one way to another. The turnout in local elections is very low, traditionally. And it can just be a busload of people can sway it one way or another. Graham, are you doing an election stream Thursday night, Friday morning? No, I don't think so. Although I did say I wasn't going to do a Canadian stream, but I don't know. Do you know why I don't want to do it? Because I think we are going to do well. I did a stream in 2019. My first major live stream was with Adam Lee and Phobo Joe in this room. Actually, we're in the corner of this room, and we went at it all night, talking about the election results coming in, and just you get to a point where the baddies have won, and you just don't want to go on. You know, why would you pay to go and see a movie where the baddies win? I don't understand. I don't know why. Why would you do that? And it just becomes really, really disheartening. I did an all-nighter for the US election in 2020, and that again, it was great because Biden won it, but we didn't find out on the night, so it was all kind of like, has he won? Has he not won? Famously, Fox News called it for Biden on the night, but it was many days afterwards before it was actually confirmed by CNN that he'd actually won. And then the I think I've stayed up for a few things since then, but yeah, I think I should, because it's not just local elections, is it? It's mayoral elections as well. Yeah. Okay, so maybe. I'll tell you what, it depends how many super chats I get this week. Because it's going to be a lot. I've stayed up all night last night, and then if I stay up Thursday night, and then I have to do Morning Brew, then I have to do the agenda with Phil at 1 o'clock, and then I've got the Friday night social Friday night. And it's a bank holiday weekend. Maybe I'll just do that and then sleep for the rest of the weekend. Maybe that'll be the plan. When will the Stop Reform vote site be ready? Still showing advice pending for my ward. I tend to vote first thing on polling day. Draconic, I don't know, mate. I don't know. It might. The answer is I don't know. I really don't. I hope that it'll be up for your postcode, for your constituency on by Thursday. It might not be. Like I say, it's just a small team of volunteers putting this together, and they're up against the clock as always. We get no support from these people who could lend us a bit of money to get these things going. We're doing them for, peanuts, or we're just doing it out the goodness of our heart or the badness of our heart. Whereas the lad who was delivering refuck leaflets to houses around here the other day was being paid to do it. And I've delivered leaflets for the Greens, the Lib Dems, for Labour. I have never been paid. Never been paid. I've never even thought that was a possibility, being paid for it. So someone was saying last night, we had a troll, didn't we? And they were like, so much for the courage of your convictions, Graham. And I'm like, what are you talking about? My convictions are solid. My convictions are that trans women are women, that Black Lives Matter. I'm as woke as fuck. That's my conviction. What political party I give my allegiance to can change day to day depending on what that stupid party does next. If the Lib Dems decide to go into a coalition with the fucking Tories, I'm not going to continue to be a Lib Dem, am I? If Labour go into the whole morass of being a Tory-like party, which it looks like very much they're going down that route, unfortunately, and I'm hoping that next Thursday night is a wake-up call for Labour and they change their trajectory. It's all well and good going on and on about the economy and the economy above all else, but if they don't stand up for the rest of us in social issues, and I know they're doing a good job in the NHS, I know they're doing a good job in housing, I know they're doing a good job in environmental policies. I get that completely, and credit to them. Wish they'd throw about it a little bit more, so it's not down to like Phil Morehouse to point it out to people. But yeah, I've got no allegiance to them. If they don't book their ideas up, I'm out of here. Why would I support them? Why would I help them? Why would I get on the phone bank and ask people to vote for them for a party that I don't really believe in? That's not having a lack of courage of your own convictions. I think that if you would do that no matter what, I think that shows a lack of courage of convictions, because you're not prepared to say no and walk away because that's your football team and you're wedded to them for life. The fact that run-in that I had, the first run-in I had with Owen Jones, and he had a go at me for not always voting Labour. And I'm like, well, I didn't vote for them in 2005 because of the Iraq War. And I stood against them in 2017 because I said that I would. If my particular MP, there's 5 MPs in Liverpool, well, 4 really. There's 4 MPs in Liverpool, and 3 of them voted against Article 50 being activated with no plan for the future of the country, no trade deal even mooted in place, no plan for European citizens living here in the UK and British citizens living in the EU. No plan whatsoever. And my MP, Stephen Twigg, voted for it. There's a 3-line whip. But, what was going to happen if you didn't? Not really much, because the guy in charge at the time was a quite weak leader. Yeah, I said, if you vote for this measure, I will stand against you in the next election. And then Theresa May called a snap election, which I found out about while I was sitting on the hammock on my boat dock on my island in Panama. My phone was blowing up with my mates writing to me saying, "Oh well, you did say you were going to come and stand if you voted for this in the next election." I thought it'd be in 2020, and I came home, paid me 500 quid, and I fucking stood. In the second safest Labour seat in the country. I didn't do it because I thought I'd win. I did it because I wanted to make a point, and I did. I then made a further point when I went down to protest outside the Labour Party conference in Brighton in 2018, and I went with my piece of paper that said I'd been thrown out of the Labour Party for standing as a candidate against the Labour against Labour, and I took this to the door, and I said to them, they have like a tent that you go into, and I said, "Hey, listen, I've been thrown out of the Labour Party, and here's my thing." Saying that I've been thrown out, but I want all the same rights and privileges that I had while I was a member. Can I come in? And they said no. They said no. They said I couldn't have the same rights and privileges that I had while I was a member. What a weird organisation, eh? Anyway, where I live, we just got a single booklet through the door with all the parties on it. Only Reform sends someone knocking on doors, and a right smarmy git he was too. The lad who locked on my door, just like he looked like just a local. He just looked like he didn't look posh or smarmy or anything. I think he was just doing it because his dad sent him out there and said he'd give him a fiver. Grimfang says it's hard to talk positively about Labour about the huge trans and disability asterisks included. It's frustrating. Yeah, and hopefully on Thursday, I don't want refuck winning lots of seats, but if they do, it might be a wake-up call for Labour. So, yeah, it's horses for courses, isn't it? Butterfly wings. And also, by the way, a lot of the seats that are up for grabs are the 2019 intake, and a lot of them were Tory seats. So it's the Tories are going to lose more seats than Labour probably in these elections. Oh shit, forgot it's a bank holiday, says Martin Howard. Yes. A week today, it's bank holiday. I was going to go down to Brighton actually to go and see Mike Dix in person, but he's still sort of getting better. Hi, Mike, if you're watching this. After his quite strenuous treatment against cancer. So he reckons by the end of the month he should be, sort of fighting fit again. So I'm planning to go down at the end of the month, which will be quite exciting. So there's 2 bank holidays in May. And the second bank holiday, I think it's starts on the 23rd. I think the actual bank holiday is on the 26th, I think. But 26th, I'm probably going to be in Liverpool. And on the 23rd, Friday, I'm going to go down. I'm going to finish the agenda with Phil. This is my plan. It's my great plan. And then I'm going to leg it to the train station like a man possessed. And then I'm going to, jump on the train to London. Then I'm going to run like a man possessed from King's Cross to St Pancras and get the Thames link down to Brighton. And hopefully I'll get to Mike Dix's place for about 7:45. And then get set up, and we're going to do a Friday night social in person with Mike, possibly Supertansky, possibly Josh, possibly um, uh, um, Tom from Gomez might be along as well. So we're planning to do a bit of a mashup of Three Blokes in the Pub. That sounds wrong. and the Friday night social. So we're actually going to be broadcasting live, possibly from a pub. We will see about what's going on in the world. Nick and Diff says, that's Rich coming from Owen Jones. Well, that's the point. When I met him the second time, when he interviewed me the second time at conference last year, I was like, well, you know, I'm glad you've come around to my way of thinking, because he's a Green now. He's gone to the Greens, hasn't he? He wasn't supporting Labour in the last election. And I'm like, so yeah, so you don't just stick with your party when you're really unhappy with the direction that they're going in. Good. And I was like, well, I just wanted to get the Tories out, and now our job is to hold Labour to account, which I wanted to do while, you know, they were in power much more than I did when they weren't in power and the Tories were. Because the Tories are always going to be exponentially worse than refuck. Than Labour, sorry. And yeah, the refuck is even exponentially more worse than the Conservatives. I'm sorry, I'm really tired. I'm going to have to call it a nice, finally. With regards to the disability issue, we can only argue that things would have been much worse under the Tories, as I believe they were considering scrapping PIP and just handing out vouchers. Well, yeah, Gillian Hope, but also it's only a white paper, a green paper. It's not even a white paper, it's a green paper at the moment. It's a consultation process. They've set out what they want to do, and it's up to us to say no. Don't be so silly. I'm going to quickly, because I think I'll just go to half past, got 7 more minutes. I'm just going to jump onto the papers for a moment. We've got... Daily Express. I will not. What's she doing? What's she doing with her hand? She's doing a weird thing with her hand there. I will not let Labour destroy rural way of life, pitting urban against rural. Classic Tory manoeuvre there. Kemi Badnoch. Kemi Badnoch has vowed to reverse the hated farm tax. The farm tax? What? You mean the closing the inheritance tax loophole so it covers people who buy massive amounts of farmland in order to pass their wealth on to the next generation without paying the tax that everyone else has to pay at that level. Okay. We've got the free Inside Today, V-Day, 80 years on. And then we've got Champions, free inside, 8-page Liverpool pullout. And then we've got Culture of Untouchables. There's Hugh Edwards, disgraced Hugh Edwards, wearing stupid sunglasses. Why he's not in jail, I don't know. A damning report found some celebrities felt they were untouchable and made a string of scandals, including Hugh Edwards' explicit photos affair. But one Beeb staffer said Beeb chiefs made similar vows in the wake of Jimmy Savile and added why weren't measures imposed back then. Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. But yeah, and then the Star here. Portugal blames Spain. Bad Holes vibes. A massive power cut which has sparked chaos around Europe. Did anyone find out what caused the massive... Did anyone find out what caused it? I, for one, would like to know. Please inform me what caused the big blackout in the Iberian Peninsula yesterday. I heard on the grapevine that it was solar. It was a solar storm. Not to be confused with Sue Storm, who's one of the Fantastic Four. There's a picture there of Rosamund Pike, privately educated, of course, looking like she's wearing a shower curtain with a padlock on it. Great, cool, good job. My first 100 days, I've been great. Donald's diarrhea called Hugo Rifkin. That's probably quite funny. Milkshake tax looms in broader sugar levy. Ministers tighten rules on fizzy drinks too. So we're getting a sugar levy on milkshakes, which are no longer going to bring all the boys to the yard. Meghan is on the front of the Daily Telegraph because this family, someone has to be from this family on the front cover of the newspaper every day. 100 years of the Donald. Ugh, disgusting man. Net zero blamed for blackout chaos. Spain and Portugal spend day in darkness after one of Europe's power cuts. This is fossil fuel propaganda, if ever there wasn't. A reliance on net zero energy left Spain and Portugal vulnerable to the mass blackouts engulfing the region, experts have said. Or maybe it was a solar storm. Sex criminals banned from asylum in UK. Sex offenders are to be barred from gaining asylum under a new law announced by the Home Secretary. Okay. Don't know how I feel about that because obviously I don't want sex offenders coming here. At the same time, this is the sort of thing. Sorry, they welcome animation come up. This is the kind of thing that will be abused, I see, by future Conservative governments who say, "Oh no, we can't let this family of four in because of all sex offenders." So I hope it's done in a way that is a fair thing to do. Starmer and EU to sign anti-Trump pact in relationship reset. This is good news for everyone who cares about the EU and wants to be part of it again, like myself. Reeves milkshake tax plan to cut obesity. Milkshake, like, do people drink milkshakes all the time? Because I'm pretty sure people drink fizzy drinks like every day, but a milkshake, that's a bit of a special treat, you know. Killer driver 17 was warned of speeding. This was a newly qualified driver killed 3 teenagers in a crash after being warned about his driving by one of his victims. Like, seriously, we need to have the Canadian style thing where you're on probation for 3 years. Australia, they do this as well. You are on probation. Once you pass your test, you can't drive in the car with your mates. You've got to drive as a qualified driver who's been driving for more than 5 years. You can't drive on your own. You can't drive with a bunch of people who aren't drivers themselves for 3 years, and you've got to wear your P plates, and you've got to, you know, any infringement. If you get a speeding fine, if you get I think even a parking fine, maybe, that's it. You got to take your test again. Yeah, because one of the big problems we have in this country is kids, especially rich kids, who get, you know, they pass the test first time, and that's always a danger. I failed my test first time, and I'm glad that I did, because I think it made me a better driver. Because a lot of my friends who passed first time drove like absolute twats. So I wasn't happy about it at the time, but whatever. Wine fizz and a bubbly mood is good for your heart, apparently. And a bubbly mood, I would say, is good for your heart. I don't know about alcohol. You know, everything in moderation. Everything in moderation. Says that's the Church of Graham. Everything in moderation. For everything in moderation. There you go. That's my epitaph. Let's give everything a go. Give everything a go, but in moderation. Food costs surge after minimum wage rise. If you like, okay, more propaganda from the Telegraph there. We've got the making of Arnie Slot there, the manager of Liverpool. And I wish I'd never written it. Rust director Joel Souza, talking about Rust, which is a film that ended in the tragic death of one of the women working on the film, shot dead by a real gun that was on set, shot by Alec Baldwin, who got away with it because, you know, rich. George, thank you. How does net zero cause solar flares? I don't know, mate. I don't know. I didn't know they found out what it was. I think it's just conjecture by the Telegraph there, but it doesn't matter because the idiots who read it will lap it up. Thanks so much for the super chat there. Might be the last one. Passengers wait outside Antoca railway station in Madrid after the power cut brought trains to a standstill across Spain. Spain declares state of emergency after power blackout causes chaos. Whitehall push for open at Trump's Turnberry. Senior Whitehall officials have asked golf bosses whether they can host the 2028 Open Championship at Donald Trump's Turnberry course after repeated requests from the US president. No, just no. It's bad enough he's getting the Olympics, the Nazi Olympics, and he's getting the World Cup, the FIFA. I was going to say Nazi, but I may as well say FIFA because it's kind of interchangeable. The FIFA World Cup. Sex offenders to face ban on claiming UK asylum. I don't know how workable this is going to be. For the first time, anyone from overseas who qualified for the sex offenders register will be excluded from refugee projections. I kind of get it, but is it workable? Like, so you have a refugee who comes over, you go through all the stuff, and then they find out that, you know, that they have a reason for being here as a refugee because they're genuinely in fear of their life. But then we find out that they are a sex offender. What do we do in that sex? Because if we send them back to their country of origin, they might be given the death penalty. So we can't send them there. So where do they go? Do we sentence them here to you know, custodial sentence to say, right, well, you've got to spend a year in jail? That's not ideal either because it's going to cost the taxpayer money. I don't know. I'd like to know more about it. So I'm going to reserve judgment until I do. The I paper here is leading with Spain and Portugal thrown into chaos. after rare weather events leads to mass blackouts, and Farage there looking like a twat because he always does. Let's go back here, and then we've got the daily fail. I suddenly know why we're seeing so much more of Archie and Lilibet by Nadine Dorries. So Nadine Dorries is talking about the family up the road because they're obsessed. They've got Kim Kardashian there with fake boobs wearing clothes. And New Labour is facing a summer of discontent. Nurses, teachers and council staff issue strike threats as Tories say Reeves is soft on unions. Grandpa gang go on trial for Kim's 7.5 million jewellery heist. I mean, gangster granny nicking her jewellery. I mean, that's not great, is it? But at the same time, do you need to spend 7.5 million on 7.5 million? 7.5 million on sparkly things. I bought these sparkly things for 7.5 million. Go, John. There's nothing awful going on in the world. Pain as Spain mainly off the mains. Oh, that doesn't really work. Pain as Spain mainly off the mains? Nah, that's just not good enough. Huge blackout. Those electric blackouts hits 50 million in Europe. And then finally, Financial Times, trains halt and traffic snarls as huge power cut strikes Spain and Portugal. Iberian grid isolated, temperature rise, blamed. Mobile phones fail and transport turmoil persists. And then China's economy planners say they can live without US farm goods and energy. Beijing's top economic officials have said China can do without American farm and energy imports as they vowed to achieve 5% growth for the year despite the trade war with the US. Okay, so that brings us up to 33 minutes past the hour. So thanks very much for watching. I will be back this evening at 7:30 for Geoscope with Ollie, Bowler Hatman. Might go and get 40 winks. I might just curl up on that couch there and put a blankie over me and just have a little bit of a kip now. Or maybe I'll have some breakfast. Breakfast is probably a good idea. Should I have some breakfast? I'll have some muesli. I'll have some muesli for breakfast. But before I go, the cost of Trump's stupidity. This is why Trump's talk of the 51st state for Canada is dumb and destructive. And tourism has collapsed in America, billions lost to US businesses, and Canada is now redirecting exports to Europe and Asia. America's soft power has been weakened internationally. Trump wants to rebuild the USSR, but with him as the czar, and it's not going to work because, all the countries around America are going to say, fuck this, and they're going to vote for more liberal parties, for more left-wing parties, because they're seeing the clusterfuck that's happening in America right now, and they're saying, no, we don't want any of that. Just like we did in Europe, in the UK, the rest of Europe looked at the UK going through Brexit, and even the most right-wing gobshites like Viktor Orban and Meloni and Le Pen, they all went, oh shit, well, we're going to take that out of our manifesto, leaving the EU. Yeah, because we don't want to do that. That looks shit. That looks like a shit idea. Yeah. So, keep watching. Keep watching. Anyway, right. So, I rode bikes for 30 years before taking my car test, says Martin Harrow. There you go. George, I reckon we can stand a better chance of converting the sun than that rag. Oh, the sun. Kardashians need to be class action sued for the willful brain damage on the Republic, says dopamine. Can't argue with that. Anyway, so thanks very much for watching. Like I said, I'll be back at 7:30 tonight. If you can't catch me then, I'll be back tomorrow morning, bright and early, 9 o'clock for Morning Brew. I've also got Prime Minister's questions tomorrow to look forward to, and hopefully we'll do an episode of The Rabbit Hole with Rachel. Okay, so until then, just want to say thank you so much for watching, and thanks for the amazing super chats, especially Plumdorf. That was just the hyper chat. That was incredible. Thank you so much. If you do us one little favor before you go, it's just either join the channel, give us a like. Give us a like on the way out. That would be really, really kind of you. And until next time, I will say thank you so much for watching. Hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye.